The most painful extreme sports deaths ever.
20 seconds. In the summer of 2013, in the Swiss Alps near Martigny, one of the world's most daring stuntmen prepared for what should have been another breathtaking descent. His name was Mark Sutton.
Being a stuntman has to be one of the most scariest careers you could possibly have because you're on the daily doing things that could possibly have you get injured or even worse, man.
He's a professional parachutist best known for his role in the London 2012 Olympics opening ceremony, where he famously jumped into the stadium dressed as James Bond alongside the Queen. But this time, his
Damn, the queen looks a little different in this image. Maybe she was a little sick, who knows?
jump would not end with applause. Sutton launched himself into the sky in a wingsuit, soaring across the mountain valley. For 20 exhilarating seconds, he glided like a bird, cutting through the air at speeds over 120 miles per hour. It was a sight few people on Earth would ever get to experience. But then,
Wait, my bad. I thought that was supposed to be maybe Queen Elizabeth, but it might be a different queen, who knows? But yeah.
in an instant, it was gone. At 20 seconds into the flight, Sutton lost control. His trajectory veered off the correct pathway, and before he could recover, he slammed into the side of the mountain.
My goodness. Damn. Damn. I can't even imagine the feeling that you would have knowing you're about to just slam into the side of a damn mountain, bro. Like he knew what was about to happen, bro. So imagine how scared you would have been in that moment. It would have been like crazy. Like at that point, you probably could have even had a heart attack and even already died or passed out before you even slammed into the side of the mountain because going at 120 miles per hour and losing control has to be one of the scariest feelings you could ever possibly experience, bro. Oh my.
When they found him, his body was unrecognizable and they were only able to confirm that it was him through DNA scans. Investigators later examined footage of the jump to understand what went wrong. Nobody knows if it was a miscalculation, a heavy gust of wind, or simply the razor-thin margin of error that comes with flying inches from the ground in a wingsuit. No matter the cause, the outcome was the same. One of the sport's most skilled pioneers had paid the ultimate price, and there was no bringing him back. Friends described him as fearless, committed, and unforgettable, a man who had lived his life in moments that most people could only dream of. But in extreme sports, even 20 seconds can be enough to determine your fate. Imagine clinging to the side of a speeding train. You climb to the roof with its steel rattling beneath your feet, wind screaming in your ears, and with your body being pumped full of adrenaline. That's train surfing, one of the most dangerous extreme sports out there, although in reality it's more reckless thrill-seeking than an actual officialized sport.
Exactly, because there's no way that this thing is actually legal because how bored must you be for you to decide to go climb on the top of trains and play Subway Surfers IRL, bro? I can't you just go find a phone somewhere and just play that game on your phone, man? Because playing in IRL, it's not worth it because once it's game over and you're not rebooting or restarting. It doesn't happen in real life. So just stick to Subway Surfers on your mobile phone, guys.
It started decades ago in places like South Africa, Russia, and Germany, spreading worldwide as a dangerous daredevil subculture. One of the most prominent areas train surfing has become a part of is New York. On a Saturday afternoon in the Greenwich Village, down in the tunnels of the West 4th Street subway station, trains thundered through the darkness, with their steel frames rattling the walls as they sped past. For most, it was just another commute, but for one man, it was his opportunity to go train surfing. Police say he had been riding on the outside of a southbound F train as it tore through the tunnels. For a few moments, he clung to the side of the moving car, then he climbed to the top, where he felt the rush of air and the roar of the tracks giving him a thrill like none other. I'm pretty sure most of you have played Subway Surfer.
I personally will be way more terrified than thrilled. But that's just me though. Let me know how you guys would feel in this scenario. But I know I'll be terrified.
At least once in your life. Whenever you hop on top of a train and make the mistake of hitting a tunnel, You'll fly off in a cartoonish manner where you're then arrested by that big back that's chasing you. You get a good laugh at it, then you play the game again. Yeah, it's nowhere near as hilarious in real life. It's horrible. As you could assume from this extremely dangerous and stupid sport, while the man finished climbing to the top of the train to get a gust of fresh air, he'd get more than he bargained for. A tunnel showed up, and before the man could even process what he saw, he lost his head. Because of the extreme amount of air pressure being thrown at his body at the moment, he fell and was caught underneath the train. At 3:11 p.m., a 911 call came in. Someone said they had seen a man slip beneath the subway earlier, and sure enough, when officers arrived, they found him under the train with his body decapitated. Whatever adrenaline he had been chasing ended instantly, and it was replaced by silence and horror in the underground. For the unfortunate commuters forced to pass the site, it was a grim reminder of the dangers lurking in the city's underground. But for police, it was just another entry in a long list of subway surfing tragedies. Quick little moments of thrill that collapse into traumatic memories that both strangers and loved ones alike.
We humans are considered the smartest beings on this planet. But sometimes we can be really, really questionable with our choices, man. As shown by these examples. Because who in the world, in their right mind, will think that it's okay to climb on the top of a moving train and subway surfing in real life? Like, what?
We'll never forget. The adrenaline is never worth the risk. Your body is priceless. And while we're on the topic, the same goes for your mind. The whole reason I make these Stickmen videos is so that you don't have to witness the real thing. Don't go searching for these videos online. The effect it has on your brain is horrible, especially if you're young. Traumatizing yourself isn't worth it, and trust me, I can promise you that. The slamming incident. High in the Swiss Alps, the snow glistened under a cold April sky. For a young 21-year-old world champion snowboarder, this was more than a mountain. It was her playground, her stage, and most of all, her destiny. She had conquered countless competitions and had practically carved her name into the world of snowboarding. But on this day, the mountain carved back. The woman was being filmed for a project, showcasing her incredible skill as she cut across the steep alpine slopes. The cameras rolled, her board sliced through the powder, and everything seemed perfect. Then, without warning, the snow itself began to move. Like, a lot. In the blink of an eye, an avalanche broke loose. Tons of snow and ice thundered down the mountain, faster than any snowboarder could ever outrun. It should be known that on average, avalanches move at about 80 miles per hour. At that
Damn, so them boys avalanches be fast. So there was probably no way at all she could have like skated out of there or nothing like that. Like that was pretty much wraps for him, man. RIP, bro. RIP to her. This is brutal. An avalanche, all that snow, all that cold, just like engulfing you. I can only imagine, bro. Damn.
speed, that's enough force to topple any building, rock, or tree caught in its path, most of which are moving along with the avalanche whenever it's crashing down a mountain. It slammed into the woman with the force of a speeding vehicle, and she was swallowed by it instantly. Rocks, debris, branches, and heavy ice carved and tore at her body as she was dragged through the snow until its eventual finishing slam. Finally, the avalanche stopped, but the woman was missing. She laid buried alive deep within the frozen chaos, crushed and disfigured. Rescue teams rushed in, digging through the snow and desperately searching for her. But by the time they found her, it was already too late. Even with safety gear and avalanche detectors, the force was overwhelming. This woman, once one of the brightest and youngest stars in snowboarding, was gone in seconds. Even champions are fragile against nature. If you're an outdoorsy person like me, always be alert of its dangers. The Red Bull incident. The arena was packed and its air was alive with cheers.
You already know this one is going to be absolutely horrific because Red Bull is known for their outlandish stunts. So this, we're in for something big.
And the violent rhythm of tradition. In the center, a matador faced down his opponent. Not another fighter, not another man, but a bull weighing more than half a ton, bred for power, speed, and fury. At first, the fight went as expected. The matador waved down his red cape.
There's no way I'm getting into a fighting setting or anything like that. by myself against an animal that I know has a massive advantage against me when it comes to things like speed or strength, because you never know when the animal will just decide to say F you and do whatever the hell it wants. So that's my opinion. I would never get into such a scenario. Like the people who do this kind of stuff, they're very, very, very brave because a half a ton bull, yeah, I'm good.
and the bull charged. As you'd guess, in the background, the crowd roared at each narrow escape. With over 2 decades of experience in the ring, this 39-year-old Spanish bullfighter was known as one of the best to do it in his time. He'd toss his cape to one side, effortlessly thwarting the bull's charge. Then he'd do it again, to make the crowd go wild. But then, in a heartbeat, the balance shifted. He'd put up his cape again for the bull to charge past him, but unexpectedly, it caught him. The bull slammed into the matador's face with a force that was so brutal that the horn struck him in his skull, fracturing upward through his jaw and out his eye. He was hit directly in the head by a 1,000-pound bull's horn, effectively splitting his face in two. The crowd fell silent as blood poured onto the sand. The matador dangled helplessly, impaled by the animal until it heavily thrashed him off of its horn. The worst part is that the man was fully conscious. He rose back from the ground like a zombie and began screaming that he couldn't see, sending the crowd into a horrific panic. Other bullfighters jumped into the ring to distract the bull and to retrieve the man's body. Once again, his face was split in two, his teeth were shattered, his jaw and cheekbone were fractured, and the horn head punctured out his eye and pierced him right through his skull. But, to everyone's complete and total shock, the man actually somehow survived. The horn pierced his skull and was dangerously close to his brain, but it missed. Against all odds, he returned back to the ring less than a year later, and he'd continue his passion. Juan Jose Padilla is now known as the Pirate of Bullfighting. In 2018, he'd experienced another
Bro lived to tell the tale. And he came back to bullfighting. The thing that did that to him made him lose his left eye. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
horrible incident where he was scalped by a bull. Honestly, this man might just be invincible because he'd somehow survive once more, and he'd return back to the ring again to continue the sport. Extreme sports are, well, pretty extreme, and honestly there's really nothing wrong with living life to the fullest. All I'd say is that adrenaline makes you feel invincible, but reality has no safety net. So, always, at least make sure the risk is worth the reward. As always, have a happy day.
Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you made it to the end, please show me some love, like, and subscribe. I love y'all, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.